nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who wrote the Pledge of Allegiance?
Welcome to tonight's Planning Board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exit, which is to the left of the room. In the event of emergency, please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs, and please do not use the elevator. The meeting is recorded by the Secretary for the purpose of a record and minutes, so please identify yourself each time you come to the podium and speak into the microphone. The board will follow the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. Extra copies should be near the door. After each case has been called, the applicant and/or representative shall come to the podium, identify him or herself, give his or her address, and then present the case. The planning board members will then have an opportunity to question the applicant. If this case is a public hearing, it will be open for public input, at which time anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding this application will come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct any questions to the board. Once all public input has been completed, the applicant or site representative will be given the opportunity to respond to any of the public input. Once all public input has been completed and all questions have been satisfied, the case will be closed to public input, and then the board will move on a decision. No further input is allowed at that time. Can you please call the first case?
I sure can. PB 1709-1, upon the matter of request by Dynamic Engineering acting as agent for Aronquoit's Favorite Chicken, LLC, for revised site plan approval to construct an outdoor storage structure on premises 1000 East Ridge Road in a C business district.
Please come to the podium.
Good evening. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
My name is Jackie Giordano of Dynamic Engineering, and I'm the applicant's engineer, located at 1904 Main Street in Lake Como, New Jersey. The applicant has retained us to prepare the amended site plan application for 1000 East Ridge Road for the proposed storage structure. The former approval was case number PB 1508-2 for the conversion of the bank building into the Popeyes restaurant that operates today in the Georgetown Plaza. This amended application consists of the removal of 2 parking spaces and the construction of a 242 square foot storage structure for additional cold and dry storage associated with the restaurant. Please note that the loss of the 2 parking spaces does not create a parking variance for the Popeyes restaurant or for the shopping center. The storage structure will comply with Monroe County Health Department regulations, and all utilities will be connected to those servicing the restaurant today. Please note that no changes to the delivery schedule and the site circulation by delivery vehicles is proposed with this application as well. And then I believe there were some comments from the workshop meeting that was held last Monday. Just to run through those. First, it was noted that there were items such as the pedestrian striping and the bike rack that was part of the initial application that was not installed, and the applicant's been made aware and is prepared to promptly address those items. Secondly, it was noted that there was a dry well that may conflict with the location of that storage structure. Although not shown on the site plans that were submitted to the board, per my investigation this afternoon, I took some measurements. It looks like that inlet is located about 28 feet from the northern end of the existing trash enclosure, so it should not conflict with the location of the storage structure, and we can prepare plans and show that inlet there. Third, it was recommended that EIFS was proposed on the storage structure to match the existing building. EIFS may not be proposed at this time, but the brick of the CMU wall will be painted to match the Popeyes restaurant exactly, and they will be using the same stone exterior finishing that you see on the Popeyes restaurant. The last comment I have is to submit a lighting plan for the storage structure. There was no lighting proposed for this structure, but for a means of security, we can propose a wall pack mounted light above above the 2 doors to the storage structure. This would be mounted at 8-9 feet high And we would request, in lieu of doing an actual lighting plan, that we just provide the specifications for that fixture. There would be no spillage to the adjoining property as it would be on the front of the building. Other than that, that sums it up, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. With that, we'll have the board ask any questions. Michael, can we start with you?
The only concern I had with the plan is that the building you're proposing is gonna sit 5 feet off the property line, which I understand you're gonna need a zoning variance to build any closer to the property line. But the dumpster that you have there is right on the line. So that's sort of creating a 5-foot area behind that building that is not real desirable. It's gonna be shielded from the road, shielded from both sides. And my concern there really is you know, what, I'm just thinking, you know, long-term down the road, what could happen behind that building? You know, you'd hope nothing, but you got to plan for that. So I think the suggestion the board came up with was that you install the same sort of light that you're going to on the front, or that you've proposed for the front, on the back as well. And that way, at least you light it up, you know, and perhaps deter some of that. I understand, you know, not wanting to build in that 5-foot section. But a light back there, you know.
If we were to put a light back there, we would just want to do that motion censored only. Is that correct?
I don't have any strong feeling on that. I don't know about the rest of the board.
I didn't actually hear what you said because there's some noise going on right behind me. I apologize for that.
She suggested that it would be a motion sensor light instead of on all the time.
That's all right.
That works.
I'm okay with that.
So I got my back.
Thank you. That's
Thanks. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Could I chime in?
Sure.
I'm going to anyway. When I went and looked at your proposal again, yes, the dumpster container area is right on the line, and you're proposing the adjacent building be 5 off. Can they not line together? I know it's going to stick out farther anyway. I was looking to see if.
I think it was just a item in the zoning ordinance that this
It's a
was considered an
setback.
accessory structure and it had to be 5 feet from the property line.
I know that, but, I mean, just
So if you wish to grant.
common sense. I'm thinking,
They'd have to get a variance.
right. They would have to get a variance, Michael.
yes,
From
they
the-
would.
From the zoning code, right? I mean, that's.
From the zoning board, not
Yeah.
from the planning board.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can refer to the zoning board, can't you?
Yep. I do have a question. How far away is that dry well from the wall of the dumpster?
Of the dumpster, it's about 28 feet north and then about 7 feet from the property line.
So 28 feet? And you're proposing a building that is how long?
22.
And how far out is that condenser sticking?
This is just a schematic picture of a condenser, but I wouldn't imagine it being more than 2 feet or 3 feet.
So what's left for the water to go beyond the building? I mean, how's that water getting to
It-
that dry wall?
So the site is pitched towards the shopping center. Runoff behind the building will still travel via gutter flow. The pad that the dumpster and the proposed storage structure will be pitched away from the property line, and there wouldn't be any impact to the water that's going there right now.
But right now, we're allowing it to travel 28 feet, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're going to cut it down to 6 feet.
Yes.
So, and you're telling me there's no difference between where that water is going to go?
I mean, it's all tied into the same conveyance system on the property. The roof
Do you-
of the structure would be
Do
pitched.
you know what the next closest dry well is?
Yeah, I believe it's on the other side of this island that's shown on the plan.
On the other side of which island? Because I
The
don't know what you're
landscape,
pointing to.
the landscape, existing landscape island that's shown on the,
So how many feet is that?
Oh, we've got to go to this.
Do you know?
See it.
See, I don't.
I don't have that in front of me right now.
Somewhere, what she's saying, so I mean, it'd be two, you know. two
Right, but I'm
parking
talking
spots.
about water coming this way.
So you're saying what's up here?
Yeah, that water is traveling downhill from Ridge Road, right?
Correct.
Down that aisleway, the alleyway that you guys have that's a drive-through.
Correct.
You think that water's gonna travel over to that other dry well? Is that what you're telling me?
The water that's falling behind the storage structure will run off to that inlet. Water is being pitched from the trash enclosure that was installed away from the property line, away from the wall, and will be collected on the on-site stormwater system. I mean, that 242 square feet of roof runoff is either going to be pitched to the current inlet, or it'll be pitched to the next inlet on-site. But it's all part of the same collection system.
Right, there's no real collection system there. I mean, that's the truth of the matter, it's dry wells. So it's an individual well that you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I'm not operating that one, then it's gotta go someplace else, or if I'm obstructing that one, which basically is gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we're talking about here is water's gonna come down the drive-through lanes, right? And today, it kind of has to make its way around the dumpster, presumably it's graded appropriately so that happens, and then it can kind of start to head almost northwest, if you will, into the future proposed building pad, and then hit that drywall. So I think what Alan's saying is that now it's gonna be forced to, instead of just going around the dumpster, it's going to also have to go around the proposed building. Is that
Right.
what you're saying? I mean,
That's what-
if it's doing it today, I wouldn't expect there to be a huge problem with that. I mean, the building is gonna be.
I'm just thinking that the water's gonna travel back down to where it's flowing into the well, as opposed to now it's traveling all but the last 6 feet, which now we're expecting it to move, and it's always the first inch that's gonna be the problem.
How much water are you expecting to go down there, Alan?
We've seen a lot of water lately,
Carrie, did we receive any comments at all from town engineer?
We did not on this application. I've got to double check that because of the scale of the revision to the site plan. I'm not sure that it would have triggered a review by the engineer.
Okay.
it may be fine, but I just think it's something we should be aware of as we're going
So-
forward.
Certainly as part of the building permit process, if you would be interested in having the town engineer review the plans to ensure that the stormwater could adequately maneuver around that building, we certainly could have that be part of the building permit process.
I would feel more comfortable with that. I think that that whole area has sort of a history of flooding.
So are you also worried about, like in the winter, it would create an ice situation, or what do you?
It's going to do that also. I mean,
There's
But
a
the-
goodly amount of pitch from the front of the store to that first manhole back there. That dry well, I think it's gonna be bypassed by a lot of the water anyway.
that's my concern.
I mean, I just see it that way. I don't see the water making 290-degree turns to go into a dry well that's 6 feet from the structure.
Right. That is my concern. Is that water's just going to continue to travel north.
Path of least resistance. But I don't know if it's a significant amount of water, and I think that's why Carrie's notion or suggestion to go to the engineer is good.
Alan, anything else, or?
The EFS siding, why is that not available?
I think that they were just painting, instead of using an EFS panel, they were using the same paint that they use for the building, the restaurant.
Right, but what's the paint currently on today? Is it on EFS material or a block material?
It's a block material. So I think the architecturals that were submitted,
I thought it was on EFS when I was over there. I mean, Michael, do you remember?
No,
Brad?
I I think she just means on the plan that it's on the block of material, but the restaurant is on an EFS material. That's
Yeah,
what
so
she-
why
Yes.
is it not available, is my question.
I don't know that it's not available. I just know that it's preferred for them to paint it at this time.
Yeah, I think that this board, though, had a preference for E EFS, and it was discussed at the workshop.
Oh, okay. So for the painted brick, that would be an EFS formula then. The golden colored and the exotic red color that matches the Popeyes restaurant.
No, we asked for
Correct.
it to match the Popeyes restaurant. I think these were part of the notes that we all shared.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what I said.
yeah, okay.
So I apologize, I wasn't at the workshop, but was there any discussion around, I guess, safety concerns as to, there's going to be food stored in this building, correct? So can you explain what is the procedures to ensure there's not going to be any attraction to rodents and things of that nature? Can you tell me something about the structure?
I'd have to defer to the architect, but we did touch base with Monroe Health Department. They just requested a copy of their plans. They saw no issue with having the food storage just in an exterior structure. The architectural drawing shows the condensers, the cooling units, and the interior layout.
I saw the interior layout. Do we have anything from Monroe County? Do we have that?
From the, apologies from the Monroe County, we didn't have note of them, of receiving their response yet. Generally, for projects like this, if Monroe County Health were to note any needed change to the physical, structure, again, I feel like this is the answer I'm going to again, but I think that's, again, something that would be addressed at the could be addressed at the building permit stage if needed.
The plans do state that it will comply with Monroe County Department of Health regulations.
Right.
Yeah, and to Mike's point, so these are just a set of permitting or zoning drawings. You might just want to have that note
Sure.
on your finals.
Yeah, with building permits.
Yeah.
Michael, anything else you'd like to,
No, thank you, I'm good.
Mary?
I'm good.
I agree with what Michael and both Michael said about the storage shed being off the property line not being ideal. And I do understand why you don't want to put it on the property line, because then you have to get that variance. However, I don't like that it's not visible really from anywhere because it's sunken down. It's behind the dumpster, it's behind the storage shed. I think that getting the variance would be a lot better of a solution than bringing it off and creating this dark alleyway. I would prefer that. I don't know how other people feel about that, but I would prefer that. The other question I have is, when you build this structure, then the refrigerated truck, that goes away, is that right? The one that you're using now?
Yes, the modular, the pod storage.
And then I also agree with Mr. Richards about the dry well. I think that we want to get as much water out of there as quickly as we can, and forcing it to another dry well is really not an ideal situation. It looks like there's an ice problem there, because when I visited the site, there was this signage that was like after you had ordered, then you had to go up to get your drive-through, and there were two signs there that were advocating for people to test their brakes and to, like, it said, like, danger, something, something, something. Don't go on the ramp without testing your brakes. It can be icy, something to that effect. So, if I don't know what's going on there, but we want to get that water out of there before it turns into ice. And the other thing that I think would be helpful is if this building is now sticking out further than the dumpster, if you were in this driving lane and something did happen and you began to slide backwards, now you have an additional, I don't know how many feet that this building is sticking out in front of the dumpster, and it could be something that you could, slide back into. Whereas if it was behind the dumpster, it's the same difference. The dumpster's there now, but at least it's not more of a building for you to hit. Those are my comments.
So to build on those comments, and I apologize for going back, but when I visited the site, it appears for whatever reason with the wind and everything, the garbage all blows towards that side of the building. So there was quite a bit of garbage on that side of the building. So now if we're going to create an alleyway, I would imagine that's going to become a catch-all for a lot of garbage. So if it's not feasible to move it back to the lot line, what conditions can you guarantee that that'll be properly maintained?
Is it not feasible to push it back, or did they just not want to get the variance?
I think this was a violation with the storage, so they were trying to be prompt and pursue with a compliant application to get this resolved and to keep the town happy.
There is a code violation associated with the temporary pod and the truck storage that exceeded a reasonable amount of time, and we realized that there was a long-term issue or solution that was needed at this location.
And to your point, I'm sorry to cut you off, Michael, but to your point, Brad, it's difficult to require the applicant, when they're proposing a conforming project, to propose a non-conforming project and force a variance. Looking at the plan, what you could ask about and what you might want to ask the applicant about is, could they shift this proposed storage unit to the north so they still have some space in that drive aisle, and then maybe pull the dumpster with it and realign the dumpster with the building both 5 feet off the property line? I don't know if that's feasible, but that might address your concern about them being in line without creating the need for a variance.
And we're really putting that dry well in.
Yeah.
We think we have a
and
dry well
that's
problem
the
right
balance,
now.
Right,
You know, you move that thing north a couple feet and you really got a problem.
yeah. But as far as a code compliance standpoint goes, that's really the only alternative that we could feasibly ask them to consider.
When it comes to, quote, and it's certainly an oft used, when it comes to good planning, I don't see a variance to be a huge hurdle. I look at a variance, okay, it makes the rest of the plan work well.
Yeah, but the difficulty is by essentially requiring or mandating that they go get the variance, you're putting the project in the hands of the ZBA. If the ZBA hypothetically says no, you've gone on the record to say it's required. The ZBA could say no, and it puts the applicant in the catch-22 because they have no relief from either board at that point.
I don't know how to answer that.
I don't know what the answer is to that either. I do know that lighting would probably be the best mitigating circumstance that we could ask for on that. And I think that lighting is not uncalled for the 3 sides of the building.
I'm sorry, you're asking for it on 3 sides?
On the west, east, and north sides of the building, I don't see much reason to have that. Keep a well-lit structure at night, and it's going to discourage folks from doing things that you don't want them to do. I understand exactly what Rob was saying, and if we do require them to do that, and then they go to the other board and they find a reason that this would be beyond what they're able to do, then we're sticking them.
Well, from a practical perspective, it makes it difficult for the applicant to prove that there's no alternative, just because there is one.
Right.
An alternative that eliminates the need for the variance.
I did have one question for Carrie, for staff. They're going to mitigate the things that were non-conforming from the original application.
So this is something that this board can identify as conditions for approval for the revised site plan? So if there are specific elements that were not fully completed as part of the developed project in conformance with the previously approved site plan reference from 2015, certainly you could enumerate those as part of the condition of approval.
Okay.
And specify which elements, and I would defer also to our council to correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd want to be fairly specific about those things.
Yeah, and Carrie and I discussed this, so if the board would entertain approval, what you could do is exactly what she said, just specifically delineate the areas that you all see in the approved site plan that have not been built out or addressed, and those can be conditions on the revised site plan approval.
Okay. There is one that's major, and that's the queuing, and that cannot be addressed without a major overhaul. I mean, what's shown is 2 cars queuing, and anybody that's been there knows that that's not possible. And that may not be what was approved, and that's the part that I'm asking staff about.
Well, I think that the board approved the building dimensions as presented, and to my knowledge, and I can certainly confirm this, I don't think there's a variation in the physical footprint of the building. I can,
Yeah, I'm
again,
not talking about the building, I'm talking about the setup of the ordering device.
Basically, it's the location, I think, of the ordering.
The menu board
Menu,
is
yeah.
further back than it is shown on here. So the building's the same length, but because of the position of the menu board, it's further, or like the ordering, it's further back, which then reduces the amount of cars that can wait because there's a bump out. This like bump out or whatever it is not shown exactly the way it is due to from what I remember, and because of that, the menu board got moved back. Everything shifted back a couple feet.
Carrie, do you have the original?
I don't know that I don't think I have it down here with me. I certainly can go upstairs and pull it if that's,
I think if we need to be specific, we need to see it.
We did look at it at workshop, I think.
I have it on my desk. I can pull it from my desk.
I'm not so sure that we need to switch it. I mean, that causes a lot more problems. I just think that it's something for us to think about going forward.
I will say that there are times where a physical change in the field has to take place based on constructability, or there might have been an issue under the ground that prompted a plumbing change that led to how the physical building, and those field changes can happen during construction. Certainly the things related to striping, the bike rack, some of the things that are external to the physical building. But sometimes those field changes from site plan approval do need to be made from a building perspective. And in that case, as long as they're not, like, they didn't double the size of the building or they didn't shrink it down too much, then it's essentially a field change. But if the board believes that it's,
Yeah, I think that my perspective on this is just that the whole queue lane went across a driving lane at the same time and a pedestrian cross lane, and it's sort of a scary situation. It's already there, it exists, it's existed for 2 years that we know of now. I think that when we look at it next time for something like this, we should remember that this one happened this way, and that we may not want to mix, at all possible, as much as we can mitigate it, not mix the traffic with the pedestrians. So, that's all on that. I'm gonna,
So can you state what you said you were going to address from the previous plans? You said it in the very beginning.
The ADA striping and pedestrian striping was never installed, as well as the bike rack at the southwest corner of the site.
So from the workshop, does anybody remember anything else?
Brad actually did this part of it.
I have another question. So on the sidewalk, the ADA sort of ramp that you would use to go down onto the pavement is not in the same, now if my memory is correct, it is not in the same place. It's not going to line up with the pedestrian markings. It's more centered on the building, which would put that person into a parking space. So if you were in a wheelchair and you needed to get to Pop Boys and there was a car in that spot, you would not be able to do that. And if you do rectify this as according to the plan, they still can't really get there because there's a curve there. So that's a question I have for you.
Yeah, based on going there, it looks like it wasn't installed per the ADA plan that was submitted to the building department, and the applicant's going to have to fix it.
So they'll have to move
They'll
that
have to
ADA
restripe it.
and move
Hopefully,
that.
we're not doing more concrete work, but we're taking a look at it and seeing the most accessible path.
Okay.
So is that restriping and repositioning? Is that,
Yes.
What else? Here's something else.
and so that and the bike rack, was there anything else discussed?
The bike, I mean the queuing, but I don't think there's anything we can really do about that at this point. The bike rack, the queuing, and the pedestrian access.
I want to just touch on one more thing about the lighting on the building, on your new building. Dusk till dawn light on the front. So, and nod in approval or shake your head no. Dusk to dawn on the front, dusk to dawn on the north, motion sensor on the back.
Sounds good to me.
It's fine.
Acceptable? Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
I also heard the condition, were we going to request, I'm sorry, from the building permit for the town engineer to comment? Or are we going to make a condition? Can you go over that?
You can certainly, as a condition, if the board so chooses, specify that the town engineer review prior to construction with the submission of building plans to ensure that the dry well is going to function properly. So if there's any alteration to grading in that area or anything along those lines, that they would be able to make that at the time of construction of the building.
Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Anything else? Oh, what about the ephes versus the painting?
This board wanted the ephes, I'm sorry, this board wanted the ephes on the exterior to match the existing restaurant.
Is that something you can agree to?
Yes.
Okay.
And Bernie, just the removal of the storage containers, just since that's the code violation that we're stemming all this from.
Okay. Any other questions before we open up the public hearing? Okay, at this time, please have a seat. We'll open up for public hearing.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who would like to address this project? Either pro, con, or any other comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. If it's okay with the board, I will attempt to, since I captured all of the conditions, make the first motion.
So
Oh, I'm
this
sorry,
is
seeker.
an unlisted action
Yeah.
for purposes of seeker.
Right, we need to do that.
Yep.
So, in regards to case number PB 1709-1, upon the matter request by Dynamic Engineering acting as agent for Arundequoit's Favorite Chicken LLC for revised site plan approval to construct an outdoor storage structure on 100 East Ridge Road in the C Business District. As far as the seeker determination, this would be an unlisted action, negative declaration, correct?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstains? Nobody absent? Okay. So now, in regards to case number PB 1709-1, revised site plan, once again, upon the matter request by Dynamic Engineering acting as agent for Arundequoit's Favorite Chicken LLC for revised site plan approval to construct an outdoor storage on premises 1000 East Ridge Road in the C Business District. I recommend approval with the following conditions, and please correct me on any that I get these wrong. First condition is removal of the current storage containers that are not in that are code violation. Second one is the ADA pedestrian access is restriped and repositioned as per the original plan and/or adjusted to meet proper needs. Did I say it that way? The bike rack in the southwest corner. Lighting, they will install dusk to dawn on the east side and north side of the building and a motion sensor on the back side, which is the west.
Correct.
The town engineer, prior to construction, will ensure that the dry well will be properly working per this site plan. And the EFS will be installed on the exterior to match the current restaurant. EFS will be installed on the building to match the current restaurant.
Mr. Chair, is there any reason that the building planner cannot check after the construction to make sure that that thing is still functioning? We know that it's still functioning prior to the building.
Yeah, but we wanted as part of the building permit application to make sure that
That this
we're not
design works.
hurting the flow.
Right.
So, I mean, we can say before and after if you want.
Will
Yeah.
work properly before and
I
after.
would imagine there's a final inspection on this anyway.
There would be a final inspection. It would be helpful for the engineer to review at the building permit stage. So if there's anything that could be corrected prior to construction, they could make those adjustments.
Okay.
And I'd also add to the lighting that the applicant's agent submit specs on the lights to the town for town approval.
By the building department, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Not us.
Okay, any other conditions?
Brad would second this.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Nobody's absent and no abstains. Thank you for doing business in Arundequoit, and thank you for listening to the board and those changes. So that brings to a conclusion, that's the only public hearing we have tonight. I just want to confirm that. Okay.
Correct.
So now we have some other items. Carrie?
Yes, we do. We have 2 town board referrals. Upon the matter of request by Chris Brayman, East Ridge Billiards for a special use permit to continue operating a billiards hall and bar restaurant with more than 30 seats on premises 529 East Ridge Road, AKA 521 East Ridge Road in a C business district. I'd be happy to provide the overview of why that's here, if that's helpful to this board.
Could I ask, is the applicant here or no?
I
see him.
don't see him. I think, I was absent for the workshop, so I'm not sure. I believe.
No, he's not here.
He's not,
Okay.
I didn't see it.
So if you could do actually 2 things just to be helpful. One, explain what they're actually asking for, and also what a positive referral, negative referral, and/or no action means conclusively, or we could ask the council to explain it.
I feel like this is a test, but sure, I'm happy to help. I will, so the application before you, East Ridge Billiards has been a billiards location for many, many years in the town of Arundequoit in this location. When plans were presented to the building department to make modifications to the interior, they were going to be expanding the restaurant offerings and seating, and they were going to also be modifying the layout of the pool hall portion of the interior space. We realized that there was no special use permit on file for the project. for the property, which under current zoning, both the pool hall or billiard hall is a special use permit item, and then also any restaurant or bar that seats more than 30 people in our code in this district requires a special use permit as well. And so the applicant made application to the town board for such purpose, and at their last meeting, the town board adopted a resolution that accepted the application for the special use permit, referred it to this board for your, for a referral and input on the special use permit that they are going to be contemplating. The public hearing will be conducted at the October 17th town board meeting, regular meeting. And so as you are contemplating this special use, and certainly I will ask our esteemed deputy attorney to jump in and chime in, but you need to take a look at the special use permit is just that. It's something that's been identified that needs an extra look before it's not permitted by right. And so this board is going to be contemplating what's being undertaken in this project. In this case, it's just a physical change or modification to an existing business. But because the business predates the requirement for a special use permit, there was never one obtained. So this is just making sure that going forward, from this point forward, the property is in compliance with our code. So a positive referral would be that just that you'd be indicating to the town board that the planning board is in favor of a special use permit, and you might identify either issues or thoughts you'd like them to take up in consideration of the application, if you have any, or you don't have to have any. And then the same with a negative referral would be that you would indicate that for reasons that you would have to enumerate, that you think that this is not a good use at this location. And so really it's more of a function of the use and in the zoning district of where it's being located.
And/or we could take no action.
And no action would with a certain period of time, then the board's ability to provide a referral would expire, and that timeframe as expressed in town law, in New York State town law, is 30 days.
And just to add to that, you could also, in addition to a yay or nay recommendation, you could also give a neutral recommendation, and you could raise concerns and/or findings that you have that you wish the town board to consider as part of its approval or denial of the application. It's most helpful, of course, to give a positive or negative recommendation on a referral, but you do have the option to issue comments through a report that you wish the town board to consider.
Any questions on any of that before we begin?
No.
I have a technical question for Carrie.
Go ahead.
Put you back in the hot seat, Carrie.
Okay, yes.
Do we know what the rough occupant count is today versus what it would be when they're done? I mean, is it the same square footage, same number of potential occupants?
It is, I think, I would defer to my fire marshal. There isn't they're actually reducing, so the reduction in just clear open space, the calculation of number of people, occupants, is actually less than when it's a table. So if you have seated chairs and tables, I think the number is 15 square feet per person, and when it's just standing room only, I think it reduces down to 7. And so I believe that their overall occupancy may be affected that, but it's something that's typically done through the operating permit that the fire marshal issues.
But I'm asking this based on parking, essentially. Are we massively changing any parking requirements?
We're not. They're continuing to operate essentially in the same way.
Same footprint.
Same footprint, and they're actually looking just to upgrade, I think, their interior space and improve their offerings.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I was, I don't know if any of you have you been inside the building? I was fortunate enough to go there one morning last week, and they were there, the construction people were there, as was one of the workers at the billiard hall. And I took my prints out, he had his prints out, they had already done some sketching on the floor. They're making a reduction in the number of tables, of large tables. They're taking that area to use, to show a special billiard talent. And so they have the horseshoe configuration that you can see in the plans, that represents the area where, you know, Willie Hoppy will play, the old car dealer from wherever he was, from the Cadillac dealer on East Avenue. We used to have quite a billiard player in Rochester. But anyway, he took me through the store really quite nicely. And what I saw, and I think, I mean, I've never been in the place, so I can't see it. I didn't see it at night. It's not jumping or anything else. But during that morning, with the elongated tour, it sounded like an appealing thought. He's reducing the number of tables that are available to play. He's making it an exhibition area where it's, as I said, in a horseshoe configuration. The bar, he's making the bar with more seating area, but he's doing it by that curvature as you saw probably in the prints. I was impressed what they want to do. It's really kind of nice. And with the lights turned on as he did for me, it's bright and airy. I expected to find a cellar back there, but it wasn't. It was nice. It wasn't a dirt floor. I'm sorry.
Well, that's good. I'm gonna say my opinion on whether or not we want to continue to allow them to be a billiards hall and a restaurant with 30 or more seats. I think that that's something that we definitely want to allow them to continue to do, and I think that personally, I think that we would refer to the town board positive recommendation. Can be. You want it to be a motion?
Well, let's see if there's any more discussion. Does anybody else have any other comments?
We can make motions after discussion, can't we?
Any other comments? Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. On a matter of the town board referral, upon a matter of request by Chris Brayman, East Ridge Billiards, for a special use permit to continue operating a billiards hall and bar restaurant with more than 30 seats on premises 529 East Ridge Road, aka 521 East Ridge Road, in a C business district. I think we offer up a positive referral with no questions or concern.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. No abstains, no absent. It carries for a positive referral. Carrie, next case, please.
The next town board referral is upon matter of request by I Square LLC for rezoning application to rezone parcels on Titus Avenue and Lorraine Drive from R6 to R1, from R6 and R1, to mixed-use commercial on premises 753, 757, 801, 775, 795 Titus Avenue, and 51, 61, 71, 81, 93, 50, and 60 Lorraine Drive.
So in a town referral, we just discuss.
Yeah, so happy to provide the similar introduction. At the last town board meeting, the August town board meeting, the town board voted on a resolution to support the expanded pilot associated with the I-Square development, that ultimately Comida is the agency that handles that, but the town expressed support for that expansion, and in that resolution identified some items or conditions that needed to be met in order for that positive support to be there. One of them would be application for any rezoning needed associated with the expanded parcels to be included in the I-Square development. In addition, also identified the need for revised site plan approval and any subsequent reviews or approvals needed by other boards associated with their plans moving forward. And so what's before you now is an application for rezoning of the parcels that either are owned by I-Square or have expressed written consent to be included in the application, and the town board accepted that application for the rezone and now has referred it to the planning board for your referral. It will be also subject to a public hearing at the October 17th regular town board meeting as well.
With that, is there Anything else? I'm sorry.
That's all I've got.
Okay. With that, board members, any discussion? Anybody like to?
Just, are we getting a sense of a timeline on 70, 80, and 90 on, on those to be, and, and 41, when those might be considered? All those have access to Lorraine Drive at the moment for their egress and intake.
Correct. I don't have information on a timeline. I know that those parcels are identified, and I should correct myself if I'm wrong. I want to double check that, but I believe they are identified for the future I-Square expansion, and I can confirm that. I don't have the,
It's not on our stuff.
it's not, no. So what's before you now are the parcels that are either control-owned or have expressed written consent to go along with this application to the town board for the rezoning to mixed-use commercial.
Is it good sense for us to look at a proposal where the properties haven't been acquired and look to rezone those properties on the IFCOM? Is that what I'm talking about, or is that what I'm understanding?
Well, at this point, the board is making a decision about rezoning the parcels that are being presented to it. And I think that that's something that would be addressed at the town board level, and as far as the specific parcels that are being advanced. I think in the past, there have been rezonings that have taken place where all parcels were not party to that decision, and this board has seen that come online after the fact.
Doesn't that smack of spot zoning?
So actually, spot zoning isn't really geographic in nature. It's more about whether or not it's in conformance with the town's future land use plan and the general context of the surrounding area. So in this instance, you'd look at the comprehensive master plan for guidance on what and where mixed-use development is being anticipated or recommended, and/or whether or not it's the larger area, if it's an expansion of existing development pattern or land use pattern. So spot zoning a lot of times gets, and certainly, Rob, if you want to clarify that.
Michael, I mean, it's the easiest example of spot zoning is if you consider 50 acres of R1 and you change one parcel to muck. Since muck is in the vicinity here, it's not necessarily spot zoning if the planning board thinks it's appropriate for the parcels to be rezoned and it's consistent with the comprehensive plan and the vision of I-Square. So it's not necessarily spot zoning on its face at all. It's far from it.
Well, there's a big difference between 3 or 4 single-family homes and a 27 how many unit apartment building. And if these 3 tenants hold the Nolans up with a gun to say, we're saying no until you pay us more, or whatever the situation is, I'm personally not comfortable with the methodology that we've been tossed with.
Can I jump in, Mike, and just ask one question to kind of maybe clarify, because
Please help me.
am I understanding correctly, we're making a referral which we're not talking today about rezoning 41, 70, 80, or 90, correct? Just so we're all on the same page.
I'm sorry, what are those numbers again? 70, 80?
41, 70, 80, and 90. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then, just one other question for my clarification, Carrie, on this map, what is already in the Muck District?
So the properties that are 745, 717, 20, 12, 60 on the adjacent street, I believe, are they are mixed-use commercial, and then the additional ones, anything that's in that orange color, and I'm not sure why it's supposed to be polka dotted, but that bright orange color is actually our R6 zone designation.
So that would include 2, 2, 3, 4, 2194?
I believe, yeah, and I can look at the larger zoning map, but I believe that's the case, that it's
And those would stay the same then?
correct. Those are not, those are not part of the current application, correct?
And what about 753, 757 along there?
So the applicant has obtained the owners of those properties, although those would not be included or ever considered part of the I-Square development. The owners of those properties have expressed interest in being considered as part of this application so that their zoning too would go to the mixed-use commercial.
All right, so
And that documentation's been provided in writing to the,
had some of that. I
to the town board.
So we're talking about, so that's everything, 801, 795, the one that's not numbered there, 757, and
Yeah, and just for clarity or
those would go to muck.
correct.
Okay.
And just so, as we're looking at this, the number 36 one at the bottom, what looks like fronts on Lorraine Drive actually is fronts on the neighboring street.
right.
So that's the backyard. So in case anybody at home thinks we're ignoring a parcel.
And then just one more question about clarification. We're actually, because these terms have been changed around, are used interchangeably, we're deciding that this is a muck district, not an I-Square district, right?
The applicant is I-Square, and they're seeking rezoning consistent with their plans for the expanded footprint for their development. But it is a zoning change that would help allow them to continue the pattern of development that they have currently at their other location adjacent to this.
So this would come with all the rights and responsibilities of the muck.
Correct. So so the zoning designation, if granted by the town board, any of the regulations with respect to, the uses, permitted uses, setbacks, scale, all those kinds of things would be in accordance with the mixed-use commercial district zoning regulations.
Great, thank you.
So Spencer, I just wanted to point out, the one you said was not numbered is actually the 775.
775, yeah.
Yeah, that's a split, currently a split lot
Yeah,
zone.
thank you. Well, I think based on Michael's comment, and Michael, please let me know if I'm misinterpreting what you said, but I think I kind of agree with one of your comments there. I think whatever referral we make here, I think one of the comments should be that the town board should highly consider, 41, 70, 80, and 90 as part of whatever their decision is. Whether we make positive or negative or whatever we do, I think those four should be specifically listed just for their specific comment and review.
Okay, I like that. But my question is, do they like it? For example, if those four pieces of property don't want to be in the muck, and they're not in the muck now, do they have to be in the muck?
So the way rezoning works, what you have in front of you tonight is it's an application on referral that was made by I-Square to the town board. The town board also has the discretion at any time to rezone parcels in the town that it thinks are appropriate to do. So with respect to consent, that's really a red herring as part of this discussion. So if the town board looked at the zoning map, it looked at the request in front of it, and it found it appropriate to rezone other parcels for good land use planning, it has the authority to do that. So consent is not a requirement in any way.
So you could take,
However, I just want to point out, excuse me for a moment, that I'm coughing into the microphone, but it's my understanding and that the town board would only take action on the parcels that are being presented in the application and would not undertake a rezoning of anything that wasn't being specifically requested through this application process. Just to clarify for anybody that might be watching at home, and for here as well.
I'm gonna add a very Michael Palermo anecdote here, and don't take that as an offensive comment. When I was a kid, my mom read me a book called The Little House by Virginia Lee Burton, and it was about a house that was built around and ended up in a city because the owners didn't want to sell it. Well, that wasn't really the point of it, but in modern day times, you can see that when you drive down Westridge Road and you look on the Kodak parking lots. You'll see a house here and there, just kind of in the middle of a sea of asphalt.
yeah, and they don't fit.
No, and I think, Michael, that's your concern, and I think that's my concern. Is that, and I think I need some more explanation on that whole, the town has the authority to rezone thing.
So-
Because when you said that, in my head, I'm going, well, they're gonna rezone that, and then it's no longer R1. Are they able to continue to live in that house?
So what the town has the authority to do is, as part of an application like this, when it comes in, they can consider whether or not a rezone is appropriate. And when I said they have the discretion to rezone additional parcels, where that may practically be used or may not be used is in discussions with an applicant about what's appropriate. Should a parcel be eliminated? Should a parcel be added? And that's part of a dialogue that can be had. But at this time, the request that's in front of you is just for these parcels. It could be a recommendation that you all make. The town board should consider potentially rezoning, if it thinks appropriate, additional parcels, and then they can weigh on balance whether or not that's appropriate and discuss that with the applicant and folks, surrounding the property. But typically when rezoning requests are considered, they're for what's on paper and what someone's asking for.
Right,
And-
my concern, I think,
I want to just address the question you had just a moment ago, though, is that a rezone or a zoning change doesn't negate the existing physical development that's
Okay.
there. So then, in times when a zoning change takes place, whatever's there is considered pre-existing, non-conforming. And so it can continue to be that way
Okay.
forever and in perpetuity.
yeah, and that's my, and I'm sure there's some things going on that I'm not privy to currently, but, say 41, I mean, they're gonna be pretty much surrounded by Muck District and assumingly I-Square development, and if what if they choose not to sell their home? And I think that's a concern that everybody on this board has. I think that would be a concern that I-Square would have. What happens if that person says, I'm gonna hold out, and then you get, like I referenced on Westridge Road, you get a house in the middle of a parking lot. I think that's the real sticking point. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that if 41, 70, 80, and 90 were all part of this rezoning application, all of us up here would feel an awful lot more comfortable. Is that it?
Yes,
Can you tell me why we're ignoring 36 and 210 again?
Because 36 comes off of Drake Drive.
yes.
It is not accessed by Lorraine.
Yeah, those two don't ingress and egress out of
No, it's
the,
just, it's the back of it.
Lorraine.
It's a
I
very
think
wooded
that's
backyard.
something that's important to the project. I think that's something that's important to the whole overall thing, but that you would not be removing ingress and egress to that to those properties, to 36 and 210.
I like the project, I really do.
I do too.
Yeah, and I'm looking, I mean, the thought that keeps going back and forth in my mind is, does the town have the right under eminent domain, if that's what if it's the right term?
No, it's a totally different concept.
Okay, they can't do that.
That's not what's being proposed.
No, but can the town do that?
For what purpose?
Can they just say, well, how do they go ahead and just acquire a home that someone doesn't want to sell? How do they do that?
They just wouldn't do it here. It's not.
Okay.
It's not an you know what I mean? It's not like it's a public works project or something like that. It's just a redevelopment of a portion of property in the town. It's not something that would necessitate that.
so
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I totally agree with you, Mike. I mean, if we had 41, 70, 80, 90, I don't even think I'd have too many comments at all here. So I just want to echo again my statement that I think no matter what we do, we have to make, or I would like to make the recommendation that we bring those four up specifically. And Bernie, I'm not trying to ignore 36 and 210. I just feel that's quite a different scenario. I mean, we do have, maybe potential questions about buffers and et cetera, but I assume that would be in place no matter what. So you got to cut it off somewhere, but 41, 70, 80, 90 to me, with their ingress, egress through there, I think is something that the town board needs to take a serious consideration of.
And I'll echo that sentiment. I think that it's healthy to expand that Muck District, especially going all the way to the east as far as it's being proposed. I think that's a healthy thing for that section. I am a little concerned with these four properties, and I don't know why they haven't reached a deal. It's not my business why they haven't. I think it would be a lot more healthy for the district to serve as a single unit.
And let's remember that theoretically, I mean, the public hearing at the town board is the forum for that, right?
Right.
I mean, for those people to, if they have a major concern, come. Maybe they're all in support of it and they're planning on doing it. We don't know. I mean, that could come out at the town board meeting.
So for me, those would be my only concerns currently. Everything else, the town board can deal with, and that's where the public hearing would happen.
So,
And just as a reminder that any, plans, future plans for redevelopment on the expanded footprint would certainly be coming back to this board for site plan. And whether it's preliminary and final or preliminary, but would be coming back to this board for approval for that expanded footprint.
so before we get to, so Bradley, do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah, I think overall it's probably a good idea. The Muck District is a progressive district in our town code, and it has a lot of stipulations that would be good for that area. But I agree with everything that you three just said about 80, 90, 70, and 41. And it's hard because we can't hear from them tonight. There's no public hearing. We don't really know what's going on. And even if they retain their zoning designation, if the entire neighborhood around them changes, that's sort of a detriment to them if they don't want to go along with that. So so with a recommendation to the town board to really think carefully when it comes to 70, 80, 90, and 41.
Okay. Mary, anything you'd like to add?
No, I agree with everyone. I see no reason why we really should be too concerned about those residences, because maybe down the line they're going to come around.
Michael, anything more to add to what you already?
No, sir.
Okay. So the only thing I'm trying to figure out from the board is, I'm not hearing overwhelming positive, negative. Are we leaning towards a neutral, or are we leaning towards a positive? And I wanted to understand, if we went neutral, what does that positively or negatively do to the?
I'm not neutral.
You're not neutral?
No, sir.
I think that the expansion of the muck is what I'm looking at here. I think that I would be a positive on that, if that's what you're looking for.
I just wanted to get a little bit of a pull.
I think I would be positive with very specific language about those 4 properties in that.
Okay, so I just
I
wanted
echo
to.
the same man.
Positive?
Michael,
Yeah,
same way.
I'm there on it. I think it's a great project. I think it's a good idea to extend the muck.
How about
I
you,
think
Brad?
that's I'm going to say the mixed-use commercial, because I don't know if I really like that term, muck. I think it's a great thing to expand it. I think that there needs to be, as Ms. Michael said, or Alan said, very specific language as to how those 4 properties are looked at and handled.
So I wrote down what everybody said, and what we actually said was, no matter if we went positive or negative, the town board should consider 70, 80, 90, and 41. Consider what?
I think I would maybe add the word like strongly consider the impact on 4170 and 8090 if they were not to be in favor of the rezone.
Or not to be included in
Not
the
to be
rezone.
included, yeah.
Yeah, I think not included would be.
Yeah.
The impact on the zone as well as them. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that
both
that's-
ways, actually. Yeah.
It may just be easier to say the impact of the proposed rezoning on those 4 lots,
Yeah. I like
Strongly
that.
consider the impact on rezoning.
because it's important not to lose sight of what the proposal actually
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
as the
of
town board's
rezoning on those
accepted it.
lots, yeah.
That's the good wording.
Not
Yeah.
those lots on the rezoning, but the rezoning on those lots.
I think that the task of us for this, from the town board, is to go with the addresses that are up here that he is requesting. And we should follow through with that. And perhaps everything will fall into place afterwards. There's nothing we can do about changing it. But I think the answer has to come for what he's here for.
But I think we're saying that's a positive on that.
Right.
But they should consider the other properties, that's all.
When the town is
The
looking at
impact
this.
on the
The
other
impact of
properties.
the rezoning on the other lots.
From a planning perspective, though, wouldn't it make more sense if 80, 90, 70, and 41 also went to the muck? But it doesn't mean that they have to leave or anything like that. It just means in the future. So, I mean, I guess kind of like two things could happen. Like, they could approve, the town board could approve the muck change for all the properties that are on the docket now, but they could also consider changing the zoning of the other 4 properties. It doesn't really necessarily mean anything in real life to these folks right now, but except that it makes more sense in the long-term planning hat.
And I think you saying that has kind of shook something loose up here. That I think it's understood by everybody that if this was changed and those 4 parcels remained with houses on them and with residents on the properties, a site plan would be very difficult. Would be very difficult, right? You know, I don't know if a site plan, if they propose a site plan to build around those houses, I don't think that we would, you know, that would be a difficult thing to get through. So what you're saying is, yes, if we rezone them muck and they stay,
Doesn't really mean anything.
it doesn't really mean anything for them, and, you know, I
Not right
don't
now.
think that we would be going through all these steps, you know, going through all these steps.
That's not to, I don't mean to advocate for them to.
No.
I want their voices to be heard, certainly. I'm just kind of thinking from a long-term planning perspective that may, in the future, people shouldn't have to come back here and go through all that again.
I
Because
think
it
what-
seems obvious that they should be muck.
But you're assuming that they're not going to, I guess, are they not going to include those? Or they have the purview to include them? I think what Bradley's saying is they should include them. Should we state that? Or will
So-
they will include them anyway?
So this board can make whatever recommendation you would like. I think in terms of considering other options outside of what's included in the application. So certainly if you wanted to provide feedback on that front, you certainly could. Whether or not the town board, and how the town board acts on that would be based on probably the feedback that they obtained during the public hearing, in addition to their own contemplation of the rezoning application. So I would leave that up to this board in terms of how you handle that. I don't know, you know, if, and so certainly you can share that insight with the town board if you feel that necessary, and then have them consider it.
So
I have a
Mary, this kind of goes to your question. You said we should stick to considering what's being proposed. The other proposal is to ask them to consider including the other properties.
Well, sure, you could do that when he comes in here to speak, but right
Right.
now, I'm going by what is in front of me.
This is probably a question for Rob. Does changing the zoning for them limit the use that they have currently of their land?
They're single-family residential, they'd be single-family residential pre-existing non-conforming.
No, but for them to exchange that land, can they sell it as a single family?
Transfer, you don't lose your zoning status or pre-existing non-conforming status by a transfer of residential property. It's different for certain commercial uses, special permitted uses, things like that, but a straight sale of a residential property, you wouldn't lose your zoning status.
It's only if the use changes, you
Yeah.
can't revert back to the single family. So if the single family structure were occupied with
chiropractor or
with
something
a
like
business
that.
use, you couldn't go back to the pre-existing non-conforming use of a structure.
But a residential occupant to a residential occupant you wouldn't lose your grandfathered status.
But if they decided to ask for a commercial status here, could they do that? Those, like 90, 80, and 70, they wanted to put a Burger King in there.
A mixed use currently with their R1 zoning, that couldn't happen on those parcels. With mixed
Right,
use,
but they could come back and ask for a rezoning for those 3 parcels for that.
well, it would be for any uses or
Allowed
the
in
configuration
the
allowed in the mixed use commercial
But it's
district.
not muck now, and that's not what we're deciding, is my question here. If we leave these as R1, they can come back as any other variation that they want to, because that's not considered.
Well,
Yeah,
they could petition the town for rezoning. The town board as a legislative body is the one to decide whether or not it's appropriate to entertain a rezoning
Right.
request. So they don't, as of right, have an ability to come in and say, we want a commercial use classification.
understand
and you have
that.
to consider that.
But if I think I'm happier with what we suggested. I understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I fully understand
Right.
what he's saying. From a planning perspective, it's kind of crazy to plan.
Right, that's why I think that we want to draw attention, the board's attention, which I'm sure they already have.
Are you okay with just drawing the attention at this point, or?
Yeah, because it's really hard to know what to do because you just feel like you're missing a big part of the story here. I don't know what the deal is with these three property. I mean, but looking at this like the long term, then you have like this random three parcels right in the middle, like a donut
So-
that's R1.
So I'll try something here. So what about if the town board should strongly consider impact on rezoning of 70, 80, 90, and 41 lots in addition to
Leave it up to
good
them.
town planning? I don't, you know,
Right,
I liked the original
yeah, that was
original thing
fine.
we proposed is, hey, we think it's a positive, but
positive.
make sure you pay close attention to the effects on 90, 80, 70, and 41 caused by the rezone.
Different than what I stated? So-
You said, consider rezoning those properties as a
No,
part of
I
this.
said Town board should strongly consider impact on rezoning of 70, 80, 90,
Impact of the rezoning on.
of rezoning on. Excuse me.
But I also think that it should be on the muck also.
That's the rezoning.
Right, I think,
But we're,
He's saying the impact either way, so the impact
way.
on the residential or the impact on the
On
muck
muck.
if they stay
If they
residential.
stay
Because
residential.
it could make it very hard to come up
give me
with
the
a
words,
site
guys.
plan
Town
that
board
makes sense.
yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion.
Yep.
Let's get this, okay? So positive referral, I'm sorry. In regards to the town board referral upon the matter of request by I Square LLC for rezoning application to rezone parcels on Titus Avenue and Lorraine Drive from R6 and R1 to mixed-use commercial on premises 753, 757, 801, 775, and 795 Titus Avenue, and 51, 61, 71, 81, 93, 50, and 60 Lorraine Drive. Let me stop there. Did anybody track that to make sure we got them all?
yep, you got
Okay.
it.
A positive referral. The town board should strongly consider impact of rezoning on 70, 80, 90, and 41 lots. And then there was something about residential or muck, or mixed-use commercial.
And the effect of 41, 70, 80, and 90, their zoning's effect on the mixed-use commercial district. The proposed mixed-use commercial district.
Okay,
I'd second that.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nay? No abstain, no absence. That carries 7. 0 nays, 0 abstain, 0 absent. Thank you. So, one more. Carrie, anything else from the agenda?
That is all on the agenda.
Okay.
Do we have minutes?
We have
There are minutes.
Yeah, I was going to just get to that. So we have minutes to review from August 28th, 2017.
Yes.
Has everybody had a chance to look at those?
Yeah, and I didn't say anything wrong with them.
I wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
I would move that we accept the minutes as presented for August 28th.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
I'm sorry, did I get a second on that?
Second.
Sorry.
Maybe
Oh,
they
I'm
didn't
sorry.
eat it. I was
Evelyn-
getting ready.
Sorry, Evelyn proposed it. Alan seconded, or did I get that
No,
wrong?
Oh, Alan proposed
I
that.
proposed it.
Bradley second. I just barked out that I didn't say
Listen, I'm
anything
only
wrong.
playing Michelle for the night. Don't
Hey, be
confuse me
quiet
more
over
than
there.
I.
So,
Turn my mic off.
All right. So we had, did I miss the vote as
Alan
well?
made the motion.
Brad?
Brad seconded it.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye. And I know this is going to be
Aye.
different, so I'm going to poll. Michael?
Aye.
All the Michaels at once?
Abstain, I
Spencer?
wasn't here. I wasn't
He's
here.
abstaining.
Abstain. Alan?
Aye.
Aye. I abstained. Michael?
Yay.
Approved. Mary, you abstain. And Brad.
I have 4 ayes and 3 abstained.
That's correct.
1A.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we end this meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Mike, was that you that seconded so enthusiastically?
Don't listen to him. Yes, it was
Yes,
me.
it was him.